Hello, my dear Horror Area 51 family. I hope all of you are definitely enjoying our scary story. I just have one request from you, that if you are watching this video and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please quickly press the subscribe button. It motivates us to bring more such content for you. So, let's embark on this journey of a terrifying story. I never believed the night could hold secrets until I started working the graveyard shift. When I moved to Indiana, I thought it was a fresh start. A small town, cheap apartments, a job that paid above minimum wage. That's all I was really looking for. And then I found it at a distribution warehouse on the edge of town. They ran all night loading trucks and processing orders for stores scattered across the Midwest. The ad said, "Overnight packers needed. Apply within. Fast hiring." I applied on Monday. By Tuesday, I had the job. Back then, I didn't think twice about it. I was used to late nights anyway. Netflix and caffeine had been my companions long before the midnight shift. But that first week, I began to notice something strange. The building, massive, windowless, humming with machinery, felt wrong at night. It wasn't just the emptiness. We had maybe 20 workers total on the overnight crew, spread across 14 loading bays and miles of concrete aisles. That meant I could go hours without seeing another human being. And when you're standing under the fluorescent lights at 3 a.m., the shadows that don't move start to feel heavier than the ones that do. But it wasn't only loneliness. There were sounds. I remember the first one, clear as day, or night. I was stacking boxes in Bay 6 when I heard it. A dragging, wet sort of shuffle echoes from the direction of Bay 2. It was too slow to be a forklift, too heavy to be a stray animal. I froze, listening. Shuffle. Pause. Shuffle. I whispered, "Hello?" half hoping a coworker would answer. Gino, maybe, or Carla. Silence. When I finally walked out into the main corridor, the sound was gone. Just the rolling hiss of air vents and the distant grind of conveyor belts. Nothing unusual. But when I turned back to my station, something was unusual. Box number 12, the heaviest one in my stack, was sitting on the ground again. No one had touched it. No one could have. I'd heard footsteps. I told myself I was tired. That was always the excuse in those early weeks. Sleep deprivation, hallucination, my brain playing tricks. But over time, the excuses didn't hold up anymore. About 2 months in, I saw him. It was during lunch break, or, well, lunch, at 2:30 in the morning. Most of us didn't actually go outside, we just hunched in the break room with microwaved burritos and vending machine coffee. But that night, I felt restless. I decided to walk. The warehouse was divided into zones, with bays 1 through 14 stretching along the east side. Bay 9 was usually locked. Operations had shifted and the space wasn't in use. It was cold in that bay. Colder than the rest of the warehouse, as if the heaters didn't reach there properly. That's where I saw him. A man, standing perfectly still in the loading dock doorway. He looked wrong, too thin, shoulders crooked, face pale in the fluorescent lights, eyes reflecting in a way I couldn't explain. At first, I thought it was one of the day shift drivers who'd wandered in. "Hey," I called. He didn't answer. "Sir, you're not supposed to be back here. This area is closed." Nothing. No movement. When I stepped closer, the lights above us flickered once, twice, and the man was gone. Just gone. No footsteps, no fading silhouette, nothing but the echo of my own breathing. I didn't tell anyone. Who would have believed me? Instead, I started avoiding Bay 9. Whenever my route for the night came close, I found excuses, rerouted myself, volunteered for other loading docks, anything to stay away. But Bay 9 wasn't done with me. Weeks later, I began hearing whispers in the air vents. At first I thought they were rats or just the ductwork creaking. But no, these weren't random sounds. These were words. Late one night, while taping up boxes, I heard it through the grill above my head. Don't. Go. Back. I dropped the tape gun and stumbled back. Don't. Go. Back. The voice was faint, scratchy, almost like it was underwater. Male, tired. Who's there? I snapped. My voice echoed off the metal shelves. No answer. The next night, the same thing, but different words. Still. Watching. I could hardly sleep after that. I started carrying extra Red Bulls into work just to keep my nerves awake. Each night felt heavier, like the warehouse was pressing down around me, swallowing me whole. And then came the blood. I noticed them one quiet Tuesday around 4:15 in the morning. I was mopping up a minor spill in Bay 4 when I saw dark stains near the edge of the loading dock. Not oil, not dirt, something darker, thicker. Blood. At least my brain said it was blood, but when I crouched down, the stain was dry, almost baked into the concrete. I asked Carla about it later. She gave me a terse look. "Stop asking questions after midnight," she muttered. Then she walked away. That's when I realized something important. I wasn't the only one who'd seen things. The others knew. Maybe they didn't admit it, maybe they pretended everything was fine, but the way they all avoided Bay 9 told me enough. Whatever haunted that bay, it wasn't just mine to carry. It all built up to one night. The last shift I ever worked. I was alone in my aisle, headphones in, music low, when the power cut out. Total darkness. The humming of the machines stopped. The conveyor belts stilled. Even the vents went silent. All that remained was the ringing in my ears and the hammer of my heart. And then, shuffling footsteps. Coming from Bay 9. I fumbled for my phone, flipped on the flashlight. That weak beam of light barely cracked the shadows, but it was enough to see movement. A figure. Thin, crooked. The man from Bay 9. But this time, he wasn't standing still. He was coming closer. One step, then another. His head tilted as if his neck were broken, eyes reflecting like glass. "Stay away," I yelled. The light flickered against him, and in that flicker, I didn't see one man. I saw many. Pale faces overlapping, whispering mouths opening and closing without sound. Their eyes glowed, fixed on me. And then, my flashlight died. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember running. But somehow I found myself outside. In my car, engine roaring as I sped away. I didn't stop until I was back in town, parked under the glow of a gas station sign, shaking and sobbing into the steering wheel. I quit the next day. No notice, no explanation, just gone. It's been 3 years since then. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I search online for old stories about that warehouse. There isn't much, just a few vague reports, an accident back in the 80s, a worker crushed in Bay 9,
a rumor of a driver who disappeared during a shift change. Nothing concrete, nothing official. But I know what I saw. And sometimes, late at night when the wind rattles against my apartment vents, I still hear it. Don't go back. I thought quitting was the end. Walking away from that warehouse felt like tearing off a bandage. You don't look back, you don't second-guess yourself, you just go. I changed jobs, picked up a daytime position at a grocery store, moved into a new apartment closer to town. I thought mornings and fluorescent aisles full of customers would scrub my mind clean of that place. But horror doesn't just quit when you do. It follows. The dreams started 2 weeks after I left. Every night, I was back inside the warehouse. The humming machines, the long aisles, and Bay 9. A gaping square of blackness no light could pierce. The man was always there, waiting. His body was crooked, pale, eyes like polished stone. No matter how far I backed away in the dream, the bay seemed to stretch, pulling me closer. One night, the dreams changed. He spoke. "Still working," he whispered. His voice was like wires scraping against concrete. That was the night I woke screaming, sheets soaked with sweat. After that, I stopped sleeping much. My manager at the grocery store noticed it. Customers stared at the dark rings under my eyes. I didn't care. What terrified me wasn't the thought of seeing him again. It was the thought that maybe, just maybe, he was right.
I hadn't spoken to Carla since I left the warehouse, but one afternoon she showed up outside my apartment. I remember it clearly because I hadn't given her my address. She looked thinner, jittery, her eyes darting like she was being watched. Her voice dropped to a whisper before she even sat down. "You should have stayed away," she said. "The moment you looked at him, you were marked." Marked. That word stuck in my head like a thorn. "What are you talking about?" I asked. Her lips trembled. "Bay 9 is not just a place. It's a door." A door. She wouldn't say more. She wouldn't step past my apartment threshold. After 15 minutes, she left, pulling her hoodie tight over her head, disappearing down the hall steps. That was the last time I saw her alive. 3 days later, her obituary ran in the local paper. Accidental overdose. That's what they called it. I didn't believe it. That news broke something in me. I couldn't stop thinking about the warehouse, the sounds, the whispers, Carla's pale face in my doorway. I told myself I'd never go back, and yet each night on my drive home, I found myself taking the long route, circling near the industrial outskirts where the warehouse loomed. It was like gravity. Bay 9 was pulling at me. I gave in. One Thursday, nearly 3 months after I'd quit, I drove out there after midnight. The parking lot was half empty, just a few cars scattered under the halogen glare. Security lights traced silver lines against the warehouse siding. I sat in my car, engine running, pulse thudding like a drum. And that's when I saw him. The man in Bay 9, standing not inside, but outside now, across the lot. Crooked, still, staring. Then he vanished. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was rage. Maybe grief for Carla. Maybe I already knew there was no escape unless I faced it. But I got out of my car and walked straight to the side door. The keypad lock was still the same.
a 4-digit code I hadn't forgotten. My hands shook as I punched it in. The warehouse smelled the same, a mix of cardboard, oil, and faint mildew, quiet as a tomb at this hour. I didn't bother wandering. I went straight down the aisle toward Bay 9. Every step made the air colder. My breath fogged in the pitch dark. The edges of the world felt fuzzy, like I was walking into someone else's dream. When I reached the dock, I stopped. Concrete stretched out before me, lit by a single dying fluorescent. And there, in the stain-blackened center of the bay, I saw it. Not just shadows, but a crack in the concrete itself. Thin at first, but widening as I stared. The crack was pulsing, like something alive pressed against it from below. And then, the voices began.
Whispers poured out of the crack, dozens of them, overlapping in static echoes, some familiar, too familiar. Carla's voice among them. "Don't go back." Her warning. I stumbled backward, my flashlight shook in my hand. The crack split wide, and a hand, thin and pale, tipped with long, blackened nails, slid out. That was it. I ran, sprinting down aisles, breath tearing through my lungs. Behind me, I swore I heard dragging footsteps, but they weren't alone this time. Multiple steps. Too many. I burst through the side exit, tripped down the asphalt, clawed my way back to my car. I drove. Didn't even lock the door behind me. Didn't care if security cameras caught me. I've never gone back. But I know I wasn't meant to leave. Because now, it isn't just the dreams. It's the vents in my new apartment, the reflections in dark windows, the motion sensors in grocery aisles going off when no one else is there. They followed me. And sometimes, God, this is the part that keeps me awake. It's Carla's voice, not just whispering warnings, but asking for help. I knew it couldn't last forever. Running only made the nights worse. Ignoring the whispers in the vents, the shadows sliding along the walls, Carla's pleas threading through my sleepless hours, it only tightened their grip on me. The warehouse wasn't done. Bay 9 wasn't done. And deep down, I knew it wouldn't let me go until I found out what it really was. Most people don't look twice at industrial parks, but when you start digging, history bleeds through. I spent nights in the library, online newspapers, archived microfilm. I searched Bay 9 accidents, distribution fires, missing workers. Buried in a 1985 local story, I found it. Truck driver vanishes from loading dock. The article said the man, Eugene Barrett, 42, was last seen waiting to pick up shipment containers at Bay 9. No footage, no witnesses who saw him leave, just gone. The company brushed it off as abandonment, but police reports hinted at dark stains and unusual structural damages inside Bay 9. It wasn't the only case. 1992, 2003, always Bay 9, always lost or unexplained accidents. All covered up, all sanitized. And then it clicked. The man I had seen, the crooked figure, he wasn't one person. He was several. A collapse of all those who had disappeared, pressed together into something stuck between here and wherever Bay 9 led. On October 13th, just past midnight, I drove back to the warehouse one last time. I wasn't going in blind. I carried a crowbar in one hand, a flashlight in the other. A bottle of cheap whiskey rattled in my backpack. Liquid courage. The parking lot was abandoned. The keypad still worked. My hands typed in the numbers automatically, even though part of me begged to turn back. The air inside was colder than last time, like stepping into a meat locker. Machinery hummed faintly, though no workers were around. I walked straight for Bay 9. The crack in the concrete was worse now, a jagged black wound splitting wide like the floor itself was rotting. The whispers poured non-stop. My flashlight beam shook as I swept across the bay. Louis, Carla, Eugene, dozens of names I hadn't known until now, but whose voices slid into me like knives. Join us. Work isn't finished. And then silence. Complete silence. Behind me, the door slammed shut. Bay 9 opened. The crack wasn't a crack anymore. It was a hole, yawning wide, spilling black air that smelled of rust and mold. I should have run. I should have fled again. But something stronger than fear pulled me forward. Not gravity, something else. A promise, maybe. Answers waiting in the dark. I stepped in. The world folded. Floors vanished, replaced by endless corridors made of iron and dripping pipes. The lights above were fluorescent, but they flickered as if underwater. Each aisle stretched miles in both directions. And everywhere, faces. Not full bodies, just faces half sunk into the walls. Their mouths opened and closed, whispering. Their eyes followed me. "You don't belong here," one of them said. But I kept walking. And then I saw him, the crooked man. But now he wasn't alone. He was hundreds. Every missing worker, every vanished driver, fused into a heaving, shifting body as tall as the rafters, stretched from ceiling to floor. Pale hands clawed, limbs snapped and reformed. A single voice rose out of hundreds. "Work never ends." I stumbled back, crowbar clenched in trembling fists. "What are you?" I whispered. "We are Bay 9. The walls shuddered, as if the whole place was alive, breathing. Alarms rang in the distance, long metallic blares, though nothing was there. Darkness poured like liquid across the floor, soaking my shoes. I bolted, I don't know how far. The aisles folded in circles, dead ends twisting back into themselves, and behind me always came the crooked mass, shuffling, dragging, never fast, but never stopping. Finally, ahead, I saw the faint outline of the crack again, the real world. Concrete floor, yellow safety tape, the exit. I ran, lungs tearing, leapt through and fell. Back onto cold concrete. Back in Bay 9. But not the same Bay 9. This one is thicker. The air heavier. The shadows longer. And the whispers. They're no longer in the vents, they're inside my head. I don't know if I ever made it out. If this is my apartment, why do the walls hum like conveyor belts? Why do I hear forklifts in the hallway dragging boxes that don't exist? I keep telling myself I escaped, that I'm safe. But when I look at my reflection in the window, sometimes I see his crooked posture staring back. And I remember Carla's words. It's a door. The problem is, doors open both ways. I've stopped trying to convince myself this is all in my head. Bay 9 has me. Whether I'm in my apartment or still on that cold concrete floor, the difference doesn't matter anymore. The shadows are thicker. The lights don't stay steady. And sometimes the walls breathe when I get too close. But here's the part I wasn't ready for. It isn't just me anymore. 2 nights ago, I heard knocking on my apartment door. 3 soft taps, then silence. When I opened it, no one was there, just the faint smell of engine oil, like the warehouse loading docks. But in the morning, things changed. The doorframe carried a dark smear, thick, red, unmistakable. Not paint, not rust, blood. And beneath it, scrawled across the floor with a finger, a message: "Work starts again." Since then, I haven't been alone. Out of the corner of my eye, I see them. Pale men in crooked stances pressed against my kitchen wall. A woman curled by the heater, whispering Carla's voice. Their mouths move silently until the lights flicker, and then every whisper sharpens into one chorus. Clock in. Desperation makes you search. I tore apart old newspapers, called ex-workers pretending I was writing about labor rights, dug into abandoned forums from early internet pages. That's when I found it. A post from 2001. Username eBarrett42. The post was one line only. Bay 9 doesn't ship boxes. It ships us. My hands went numb. Eugene Barrett, the first missing driver, 1985. He posted that in 2001? 17 years after he disappeared? Unless it wasn't him. Unless it was something still using him. And then I found more. There was something called the Ledger. A book, supposedly kept in the overseer's office, long forgotten. Workers said it had every name, every person who ever entered Bay 9 after midnight, every one who never came back out. I knew then what I had to do. It's funny how fear flips into resolve. Once you're broken enough, you either collapse or fight, and I was done collapsing. Last night, I packed the crowbar again. Flashlight, extra batteries, a voice recorder I bought from a thrift shop. If I didn't come back, someone had to know the truth. I drove out at 2:07 a.m. The lot was empty. Not a car in sight. Not even security. The keypad code still worked, though the buttons felt warm when I pressed them. Warm like something had just used them. Inside the warehouse was still. No hum of conveyors. No machinery. Just waiting. I walked straight to the office above Bay 9. The door was locked tight. Took me 3 swings with the crowbar to crack it. Dust and mold stank inside. A filing cabinet sagged against the rusting wall. And there, on the desk, lay something wrapped in oil-stained cloth. The ledger. Bound in what looked like leather, though it was dry and cracked like skin. I didn't want to touch it, but I had to. The moment I opened it, the air went still.
The book was filled with names, page after page, line after line, dates scribbled beside each one. Some I recognized. Carla Jameson, 2019. Others were decades old. And near the very front, Eugene Barrett, 1985. But then I turned to the last page and saw my name. Dated the night I first saw Bay 9's figure. I staggered back. My chest heaved, the book slipped from my hands and hit the desk, but it didn't shut. Pages fluttered on their own, spinning, faster, flapping, until they stopped. On a new page, a blank one. And before my eyes, letters began carving themselves in. Date. Tonight. Name. Mine again. That's when the alarm sounded. Not a fire alarm, not a security system, a low droning tone that rattled the walls like an air raid siren. Red emergency lights flared across the bay outside. Bay 9's crack was wide open now. Not just a door anymore, a chasm. Shadows tumbled out like water, spilling onto the floor, crawling on walls, reaching thin limbs of smoke and bone. The crooked man stood at the center, larger than ever, his body swelling with new faces, and one of them was Carla's. "Help me," she mouthed, though her pale, silent scream joined his mass. I fled the office. My recorder clicked on in my pocket, capturing everything. The alarm, the whispers, my breathless gags of terror. The only thought I had was to run. But where? There are no exits once Bay 9 opens. Every hall folds back, every door slams shut. And even if I did escape, my name's already in that book. I don't know how long it's been since I left my apartment, if I ever did. I'm writing this now, hand trembling, flashlight nearly dead. I feel the weight of their whispers pressing against me. The crooked man isn't chasing me anymore. He doesn't need to. He knows where I'll go. Back to Bay 9. Because the book is never wrong, and my shift starts soon. You reach a point where fear isn't sharp anymore. It dulls into white noise. Your heart doesn't even race because it already knows how it ends. That's where I am now. I haven't left the warehouse. I don't think I can. The ledger is open on the floor in front of me. The pages won't stop turning, always landing back on my name. Every time I tear the sheet out, it rewrites itself, ink burning into the paper like fire. The whispers are louder now. They're not even in words anymore, just the sound of hands dragging across steel, nails raking against glass. It's the sound of work, endless, mechanical, merciless. But between the chorus, I still hear Carla. "Burn it," she whispers. "Burn the ledger." I don't really know why I listened. Maybe the last piece of me still hoped she was real. Maybe I wanted to believe that if there was a curse, it could be broken. I doused the book with the whiskey I'd brought. My lighter shook in my hand. It only took one flick. The flames ate fast. The ledger shrieked. Not the air, not the walls, but the book. It screamed like a living thing, the ink bleeding smoke, the leather bubbling, pages writhing and curling like worms. The room shook. The ground split, spreading from the crack in Bay 9, reaching all the way up into the walls, into the rafters. And the crooked man howled.
I ran. The aisles folded inward, crashing like teeth. Fluorescent lights blew out one by one, sparks raining across the factory floor. The mass that was Bay 9 clawed for me, splitting apart, dozens of faces screaming at once, trying to pull themselves free before the structure collapsed. "You're ours." I don't remember how I escaped, just flame. Concrete shattering, my body shoving through the side door, cold night air hitting my face like salvation. Behind me, the entire east wall of the warehouse caved, fire roaring out of Bay 9. From the lot, I saw them. Shadows by the hundreds, twisting, writhing, clawing at the firelight as if invisible chains dragged them back in. One by one, they were pulled into the crack. Their shrieks died like wind against a closing door. And then silence. Just the fire eating the warehouse. Fire trucks came. Sirens, flashing lights, chaos. I sat on the curb, ash on my face, voice gone. I told them nothing. What could I say? That a book of skin names summoned a doorway to a place that doesn't exist on maps? That my coworkers are still in there, screaming out of the walls? The newspaper later called it an industrial fire. No casualties reported because the night shift had been cut months earlier. They're wrong. The casualties are there, just trapped deep enough that no one can see them. It's been a week. Every night I wake at 3 a.m., the time my shifts used to start. Always the same ritual. I hear stamping, tape guns firing, forklifts dragging pallets. Faint, muffled, somewhere close. And then I notice the flames didn't destroy all of it. A scrap of paper survived, stuck to the cuff of my jeans that night. I didn't even notice until 3 days ago. Half burnt, blackened, but I can still read the letters carved on it. Bay 10. The work isn't finished. The door is already somewhere else. Another bay, another building, another poor soul walking into their graveyard shift. And I can hear it now. Whispers bleeding out of the walls. Clock in. I thought fire might have finished it. I thought I had burned Bay 9 out of existence, erased the ledger, and silenced the whispers. But I was wrong.
Yesterday, on my walk home, I passed a new construction site. Another warehouse going up just beyond the freeway. Steel beams skeletoned against the sky. Workers in yellow vests shouting over machinery. Everything normal, except the bays. I counted them without meaning to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. And there, in the outline of the concrete loading dock, I noticed the faintest ripple, like the slab was already cracked. That night, as I tried to sleep, I was woken by the glow of my phone. No sound, just one new text on the screen. Unknown number, no name attached. It read, "Shift begins, 10:15, Bay 10. New workers required." My stomach turned to stone. The date was 2 days away. And below the message, attached like an afterthought, was a photo. The break room vending machine from my old warehouse. Identical in every detail, even down to the half-stuck Snickers bar. Someone had taken it yesterday. I thought I deleted the text. I shut the phone off. I even considered smashing it with a hammer. But at exactly 3 a.m., my ringtone blared into the dark. When I picked it up, no one spoke. Just the steady hiss of conveyor belts, and then, faint beneath the hum, "Where are you, employee?" It was my own voice. This morning, I found something worse. The door to my apartment hallway, just an ordinary wooden door, wasn't where I left it. The number plate was gone, peeled clean, and the frame? Marked in thick black paint, crooked strokes, 10. I locked it. I haven't opened it since, but I can hear them outside, shuffling, dragging, waiting. Maybe Bay 9 was never about that one warehouse. Maybe it was only a first doorway, one of many, and when a door burns, another opens. Bay 9, Bay 10, soon Bay 11. I think that's why they kept the name Graveyard Shift, not because of the hours, but because every night a little more of us is buried inside. I'm leaving this record here, taping the pages to my wall in the hopes someone finds them when I'm gone. Because I know the truth now. You don't finish the work. The work finishes you. And my shift has already started.